Now when it comes to teams getting to the Super Bowl, either you're dominant all year, show potential throughout the season and click at the right time, or else they're just lucky in certain moments. So unless you're a Browns, Lions, Jaguars, or Texans fan, your team has made the Super Bowl, and you know if that team that year deserved to be there. And since it's almost time for the Super Bowl, I thought why not find the worst teams to ever just make the Super Bowl, and see if they really should have deserved to be there. I picked 5 teams that I thought for myself, and what I saw through research that many people chose deserved the title for worst Super Bowl team. 4 out of the 5 teams did not win the Super Bowl, yet the team who won it probably is the worst winner of the Lombardi Trophy. Team 1 is throwing it back to the year 1979 in Los Angeles. The Rams, coming off their best 16-game season at 12-4, they were basically led by their dominant defense as 78 saw their defense give up the fewest yards allowed and 4th lowest points allowed in the league. 79 was almost the same story. Defense was in the top half of the league for least amount of yards and points given up. Offense, on the other hand, were middle of the road in yards gained and points scored, being at 13th and 15th respectively. But a glaring issue was turnovers, second in the league. The 4 quarterbacks that saw action for the Rams had a combined 29 interceptions to 19 touchdowns, not to mention the 20 fumbles lost as well. Los Angeles was luckily in the worst division in the league, where the combined record of their rivals was 16-32, which translated to 5 of their wins being in the division. Anyways, limping into the playoffs, winning their division at 9-7, saw the Rams face the 1-seed Cowboys, who still had Roger Staubach and a young Tony Dorsett. Going into the game with backup quarterback Vince Ferragamo, the Rams were 8-point underdogs, with the Cowboys beating them earlier in the season 30-6. This LA team was one that was clicking at the right time, as 2 big offensive plays, one being at the end of the first half scoring a touchdown double coverage, then the other play with 2 minutes remaining with a dicey completion that resulted in a 50-yard score, pulling the upset 21-19. In the championship, LA were actually favorites against the Buccaneers, and it was a defensive battle the Rams ultimately won. Even though the Buccaneers also beat them during the season, the defense held Tampa to abysmal 177 total yards, giving the team a 9-0 victory. The Super Bowl saw their opponent be powerhouse Pittsburgh, who won 3 out of the last 5. Now the Rams were on track to become the worst team to win the Super Bowl as they led the first 3 quarters 19-17. Then the defense's might couldn't overcome the Steelers, giving up 14 in the 4th, leading to a 31-19 loss. Just 6 years later in New England, our second team on the list. Another story about a defense carrying a lackluster offense at the right time. The Patriots defense finished with the 6th least amount of points given up and the 7th least amount of yards given up. They were also 3rd in the league for creating turnovers at 47. Now don't get me wrong, the Patriots offense wasn't so bad if you take the quarterbacks out of it. Running backs Craig James and Tony Collins provided nearly 1,900 yards on the ground with 8 touchdowns. Quarterbacks Tony Eason and Steve Grogan, on the other hand, had more interceptions than touchdowns. Patriots got hot going 9-2 in their final 11 games, and New England luckily owned the tiebreaker against Denver as both teams finished 11-5 that season, but their common opponent tiebreaker was 4-2 in favor of the Pats. Meaning wildcard weekend saw a matchup against division rival Jets. Here, the defense is what guided the Patriots to 3 straight playoff wins. And before people start commenting, oh, but the Patriots scored 28 points a game during that run. Well yeah, you get great field position when your team forces 16 turnovers in 3 games. Beat the Jets 26-14, beat the 1-seed Raiders 27-20, beat the 2-seed Dolphins 31-14. A little sad they beat the Dolphins as the Dolphins beat the NFC champions, the Bears, giving the Bears their only loss of the season. Nonetheless, the Patriots got to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, where the team looked too scared to play. Yes, the Chicago Bears defense was probably one of the best to ever do it, but come on, giving up 46 points and only scoring 10? Patriots of course lost the game, turning the ball over 6 times and gaining just 123 yards. This 36-point loss is still the second widest losing margin in Super Bowl history, only to Super Bowl 24. 1994 saw the next team, and they got lucky towards the end of the season, sort of the opposite of the 85 Patriots. San Diego Chargers had a pretty decent team, including the likes of defensive playmakers Junior Seau and defensive end Leslie O'Neal, to go along with Pro Bowl running back Natrone Means. A switch of stats compared to the other 2 teams I talked about, in that San Diego had a top half of the league offense and a bottom half of the league defense. The team started out with an impressive 6-0 record, however, finishing the season on a rocky 5-5. An 11-5 record still gave the Chargers a 2-seed and a bye in the playoffs, so their first game was against Dan Marino's Miami Dolphins. San Diego was trailing 21-6 at halftime, but the script flipped second half though, and the Chargers got the lead 22-21. Miami did have a chance to win the game on a 48-yard field goal, but missed it to the right. Next game in the conference championship was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. San Diego did very minimal on offense, having 226 total yards compared to the 415 the Steelers put up. Pittsburgh was also leading 13-10 going into the fourth, but two big plays for 43 yards each scored the Chargers touchdowns. Helped too that a pass interference call got the Chargers their field goal opportunity in the second quarter. All of this resulted in a 17-13 Bolts win as the defense made a miraculous goal line stand to win them the game. Super Bowl time was here. With this was a matchup against the MVP of the league, Steve Young, and the San Francisco 49ers team who finished 13-3. Yeah, the Chargers stood no chance as by halftime this game was already 28-10 with the game finishing at a score of 49-26. 49ers forced 3 turnovers against the Chargers with another year of an uninteresting Super Bowl. Now the first team of the 2000s was a little old team in Chicago. You may say, wait Connor, the Bears are second in points scored and had the third lowest points allowed. This team must have been great. I will indeed give flowers to the defense as they were really the contributors to their run with leading the league in turnovers and giving up one of the lowest total yards in the league. But then again, their strength of schedule was the third lowest in the league as just their divisional opponents were a combined 17-31. Not to mention one of the worst QBs to make the Super Bowl in Rex Grossman. Saw a completion percentage of 54%, 20 interceptions to 23 touchdowns, and a measly 73 passer rating. Nevertheless, the team got the 1 seed at 13-3 and saw their first game against the Seattle Seahawks. I'll also mention the defense was looking a little off at the end of the season. Last 4 games they gave up an average of 26 points a game. It was looking like an upset win was on the horizon, but Robbie Gould snuck in a 41-yard field goal to tie the game in the fourth at 24. The Bears stopped a 4th and 1 from Seattle, then sacked Hasselbeck to stop a game-winning attempt. Bears got their turn in overtime, and Gould nailed the game-winning field goal. Championship versus the Saints was close until the fourth, where Chicago exploded for 21 points. The defense forced 4 turnovers, and team rush yards for the Bears was almost 200 yards. Another game Grossman got carried. Finally, Super Bowl Sunday in Miami, where people thought the Bears could win this game, as Devin Hester returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Yet reality kicked in when 4 turnovers to the Colts, and the run game of Indianapolis picked apart Chicago, resulting in a 29-17 loss. Just the Bears formula though, almost every position besides quarterback being great. This Bears team is definitely up there for one of the historic one-year wonder teams. Our final team is the only winner of this list, and it came in 2011. This New York Giants team is the model of team catching fire at the right time. Because during the season, stats such as the team having a negative point differential, 25th in points allowed, and 27th in total defense, and being dead last in team rushing yards. Now yes, they also did have the 3rd easiest schedule, and still barely secured the division at 9-7. From straight stat-wise, this team stunk. The Giants were riding a 2-game win streak into the playoffs, which secured them their spot, and where the Giants dismantled the Falcons 24-2, not allowing the Falcons to score any points of their own. A divisional game at Green Bay saw Manning, dare I say, outduel Rodgers in this matchup. 3 turnovers and 4 sacks given up also didn't help the Packers' case in this game, as the Giants pulled off the upset 34-20. Then I dare say some luck snuck into the championship game. 49ers replacement returner Kyle Williams had 2 fumbles on his returns, resulting in 10 points for the Giants, and 3 of those 10 were on a walk-off field goal in overtime to secure the Giants' victory. Even the Super Bowl, you could consider them lucky. The Wes Welker drop and the crazy Mario Manningham catch were moments that allowed for the G-Men to win the game, from what I consider the worst team ever to win the Super Bowl. Now I know regular season means nothing when it comes to the playoffs, just look at what the Commanders did this season. It all depends on getting hot at the right moment for some of these undeserving teams, but more times than not, these teams get exposed at some point in the playoffs. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and hitting the bell notifications. Thank you.